Hey, Disney fans, planners, and reluctant visitors. I'm Becky, and this is Touring Plans Teaches. Fun insider look at Touring Plans Teaches. We typically record our episodes on the Monday before they post, which means we're filming this episode on Halloween, so you get my Dolores costume for this episode. It's actually fitting because this week we're going to be talking about all the themed cruises on Disney Cruise Line, and one of those is Halloween on the High Seas. We're going to talk about each potential themed cruise and then what offerings are available on that cruise so you can see if you might want to book one of these specialty cruises rather than just a regular Disney cruise. What are your options? Here they all are. Starting at the top is Halloween on the High Seas. Then, near the end of the year, they offer very Merrytime cruises. And then in the low cruising season, so think like January through March, we have two specialty cruise options to choose from, specifically in 2023. Those are the Marvel Days at Sea and the Pixar Days at Sea. Disney Cruise Line also used to offer Star Wars Day at Sea. Those aren't on the calendar for 2023, but I wanted to mention them here in case they make a comeback. Let's kick things off by talking about Halloween on the High Seas. If you want to book a Halloween on the High Seas cruise, good news, it's pretty easy. Any cruise that departs starting around mid-September and then through October 31st will be a Halloween on the High Seas cruise. Now that mid-September date can be a little different on each ship. I've seen them start as early as like September 7th, so not as early as Halloween in the parks, but pretty early nonetheless. Or it could be later September on some of the other ships, so you need to look up for your specific itinerary. When you book, it will specifically call it out as a Halloween on the High Seas cruise, but they're available on every ship. What will happen on a Halloween on the High Seas cruise that's different than a regular Disney cruise? First, every ship will have a pumpkin tree in its atrium, and so this is a spooky tree. Usually some magic happens over the course of the cruise. I won't ruin that for you, but it's pretty festive and Halloween-y. This is a big hit with kids and really cool for taking your pictures in front of, especially if you're in costume. Secondly, you have special character meet and greets. Now, there are a lot of these special meet and greets, but new this year in 2022 were the Sanderson sisters, so Clarabelle, Minnie, and Daisy dressed up as the Sanderson sisters. This was incredibly popular on every one of the ships this year. You also have the Masquerade Party, so this is when you'll see all the other characters in their Halloween costumes. It's a deck party, lots of dancing and music, a lot of fun. And then finally, a bunch of other things that you'll see on your cruise. Of course, there will be themed food and beverages. Some of those will be upcharges, especially the drink of the day. Others will be rotated into your sort of regular rotational dining. There will be themed merchandise available for purchase because Disney has to capitalize on that. There will be themed movies on Funnel Vision, so you'll be seeing some spooky Halloween movies. Funnel Vision is that big screen up on the funnel on the pool deck. Other themed activities for kids to take part in, special crafts, other things like that, and special events for kids and adults, especially in the adult entertainment district on each ship. At night, you'll have special parties, costume contests, everything with a little flavor of Halloween. Next, we're going to talk about our very Merrytime cruises. So these are the cruises near the end of the year during the holiday season, and once again, they're available on all Disney Cruise Line ships, and they're all sailings from approximately mid-November all the way through those departing on December 24th. No Disney cruises depart on Christmas Day, so December 24th is going to be your last chance to catch one of these very Merrytime cruises. And that mid-November date can shift a little bit depending on which ship you're on and what itineraries are running. I've seen some as early as November 6th or 7th, but sometimes that first cruise isn't until later. So my family's actually been on two Disney cruises, one in mid-December and one in mid-November, and both were very Merrytime cruises. This year we're doing another Disney cruise in mid-November, and it's not a very Merrytime cruise. So you just have to pay attention to some of those dates if that's something that's important to you. What sorts of things will you find on a very Merrytime cruise? There is so much theming on these cruises. The first is that the atriums and the ship as a whole are totally decked out for Christmas and other winter holidays. So you can see here, this is my family in our Christmas jammies in front of the Christmas tree in mid-November. I'm a big Thanksgiving fan, so this was hard for me. We just switched back to Thanksgiving after our cruise, and it was fine. Wonderful Christmas card opportunity if you're taking a very Merrytime cruise. In addition to those big Christmas trees and wreaths and garlands everywhere, each ship has its own large gingerbread house. So if you're a fan of going to Walt Disney World during the holiday season and seeing the large gingerbread houses or gingerbread carousels there, they create some pretty impressive things at sea. And these things have to withstand all the wibbly wobbly of the ship too. So these are very large gingerbread houses. If you take one of those early Merrytime cruises, you actually get to watch them putting it together, and that's pretty cool. In addition, we have cool activities like story time with Mrs. Claus. So this happens in front of that big tree in the atrium. She reads a story to all of the kids. There's some treats afterwards. Just a cute little activity. They also have the deck party up on the pool deck, where the characters wear their sort of tropical Christmas best, and you can dance to some music with them. There's also a bunch of other themed activities. So for example, this is my daughter making a gingerbread man on our last very Merrytime cruise, and that happened in Animator's Palette. So you're going to find all of these things in your Navigator app while you're on the cruise, so you can be sure to head to those special activities. And just like Halloween, we have a bunch of characters in specialty holiday gear. So you can see Mickey in his Christmas sweater. We have Santa Goofy, Reindeer Pluto, Mrs. Claus / Caroler Minnie Mouse, and bunches of others that you'll be able to find all throughout the ship, including Santa Claus himself. We also have a bunch of other things available on very Merrytime cruises. Once again, themed food and beverages. Think hot chocolate, as well as specialty adult beverages. Themed merchandise, of course, that you can buy and take home to celebrate Christmas again. You'll have holiday movies on Funnel Vision this time around instead of the spooky movies that we had during Halloween on the High Seas. You can meet Santa Claus, and there's even a Winter Wonderland ball that happens in the atrium where they light the tree up, you sing a bunch of carols. Really, really cool event during those very Merrytime cruises. But the very Merrytime fun doesn't just stop there, because Castaway Cay also gets decked out for these cruises. This is the big tree on Castaway Cay that's up there during these very Merrytime cruises. You'll also see some special characters dressed up there on Castaway Cay, as well as the Snow Sandmen get dressed up for the holidays as well. Now, if you're on a Disney cruise, specifically on December 24th or 25th, so Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, you get some extra bonuses. So typically cruises don't really depart on these days, but cruises do run over these days. So if you're on a cruise that happens to be over Christmas, you get Christmas Eve cookies that are special. You can do Christmas caroling around the ship with the crew, and there are special holiday talagamis. Yay! So those cool little animals they make on your bed with your towels every night, there'll be some specialty holiday ones. So that's the little bit of extra magic that they add for those Christmas cruises specifically. Our next specialty cruise type is the Marvel Day at Sea. So if you watched our Walt Disney World videos and back in another series, you know that Disney's really clever, and during low crowd times, they throw special events to draw people to the parks. A lot of times those are run Disney events. So this is the exact same thing, but for the Disney Cruise Line. January through March is a very slow cruising season. That's also the time they're running that Disney Plus deal this year, all to draw people during the low season to fill up those ships. So they're offering these special days at sea, once again, to try to attract people that otherwise wouldn't be cruising during the winter and early spring. So our Marvel Days at Sea used to be held on the Magic. This year, for the first time, they're being held on the Disney Dream from January through early March 2023. Select sailings only. There's a couple in there that don't have the Marvel Day at Sea, so you're going to have to check if that's something that's important to you. What are you going to find on this Marvel Day at Sea? Again, this is the first year that it's happening on the Dream, so we're going by Disney's press release. What's going to be available on the Dream here, we don't actually know exactly yet since we haven't held it on the Dream before. But what Disney promises is that on the Marvel Day at Sea, there will be photo ops and quote-unquote training sessions available with many, many of your favorite Avengers. This is the exact list that Disney lists on their website, but it promises more. So we'll see what more Avengers show up on the cruise. My family's doing one of these this January, so we'll let you know how it goes. There's also special shows available during the Marvel Day at Sea. The first is Marvel Heroes Unite. This is one of those sort of deck party shows where a bunch of the superheroes have to come together and defeat some bad guy of some sort. Lots of heroics ensue. We'll see. That sounds like fun. In one of the theaters, we have the Star-Spangled USO show. This is a throwback to Captain America. When he was doing the USO shows, he's supposed to make an appearance during the show. This sounds pretty cheesy and fun. I'm totally going to go to it. And then finally, we have the Mickey and Friends Super Celebration. This is when Mickey and his friends dress up as superheroes and have a party of their own. So that should be some pretty unique photo opportunities of Mickey and friends in interesting costumes. What other things has Disney promised for Marvel Day at Sea on the Dream? Movie screenings, both on Funnel Vision and in the movie theaters. So these would be your typical Marvel movies. I'm hoping for some Black Panther or something on this cruise, as well as other kids' activities. A lot of the Disney ships have Avengers Academy on regular sailings, but they've promised more interactive sessions with the Avengers on these cruises. Marvel 101, which is a sort of introduction to all things superhero, special family trivia events all related to Marvel, and Animation Academy, where they're going to hold classes to help you draw your favorite superheroes. So on this day at sea, it's one single day going to be totally packed with all things Marvel. If you're an Avengers fan, this is the cruise for you. Brand new for 2023, we have the Pixar Day at Sea. So every year prior to this, we've had Star Wars Day at Sea, and now Disney's trying out something new with the Pixar Day at Sea. So just like I said, we didn't know exactly what Marvel Day at Sea was going to look like on the Disney Dream. We really don't know what Pixar Day at Sea is going to look like because they've never had one before. So we're going based on what they're saying is going to happen on these cruises. So our Marvel Days at Sea were on the Disney Dream from January through early March, and Pixar Days at Sea are on the Fantasy for that same time frame. Again, it's only select sailings, so there are going to be a couple that don't have Pixar Day at Sea during that time frame. Check before you book if this is something that's important to you. What's going to happen on Pixar Day at Sea that we know about? Once again, we're going to have photo ops, no training sessions because Pixar doesn't really need to train you, but you can encounter and take photos with characters from Toy Story, Monsters, Inc., The Incredibles, and more. So hopefully some more Pixar movies get added to that list because that's not very many of them. Just like Marvel Day at Sea, we also get some special shows for Pixar Day at Sea. The first of those is a Pixar Pals dance party. So think those same characters that are walking around for photo ops. You can have a dance party with them up on the pool deck. There's going to be a Pixar nighttime spectacular. So once again, up on the pool deck, this is where the Incredibles are supposed to save the ship from some bad guy of some sort. And then finally, the Coco theatrical experience, which is supposed to be a brand new Coco-themed theatrical experience. Don't know much more beyond that, but if you're a Coco fan, this is probably something that's exciting. What other things do we have on the Pixar Day at Sea? This was a big list on Marvel Day at Sea. It's a much smaller list here for Pixar Day at Sea, and it's all food related. So you have the ability to sign up to do the Rootin' Tootin' character breakfast, and that's going to be Toy Story characters, and they're going to be roaming around during this special breakfast during the Pixar Day at Sea. The meals that night are going to be the Pixar Day at Sea dinner. So at your rotational dining restaurants, you're not going to have your normal rotational menu. It'll be all the special menu that's Pixar Day at Sea. It's inspired by the animation studio Commissary. So if you've ever really wanted commissary food on a cruise ship, yay, Pixar Day at Sea is for you. And then finally, if you happen to be dining in Animator's Palette that night, you will have Undersea Magic with Crush. So you're going to have Crush and the other Finding Nemo friends swimming by on the screens during your dinner, and you're supposed to even be able to talk to and interact with Crush during your dinner as well. So not as much theming as the Marvel Day at Sea, but the Marvel Day at Sea has been happening for many years at this point, just on a different ship, and this is the very first year for Pixar Day at Sea, so we'll see where they take it from here in future years. Those are all the special themed cruises available on the Disney Cruise Line. If you want any more information about them, or you want to dig deeper into any of the topics we've covered in this series, you can check out the unofficial guide to Disney Cruise Line, written mostly by Erin Foster, who's a touring plans guru and knows all things Disney cruise. So be sure to check out that book. After this week's episode, we're going to be taking a little bit of a lengthy break because my family's going on our own Disney cruise. So we'll catch you back here in a couple weeks to learn more about Disney cruises.